They had that dust blowing. Yeah.
Vicki, while you're doing that, I want
Right, don't forget.
to tell you how good people were, and I think people are good all over the world. I find good people all over the world. But about an hour before Daddy died, when the farmers brought in Daddy was in the living room setting up kind of here. I'll never forget it. And he had a great big bushel basket. You know what a bushel? Full of green beans and things from Mom. And Daddy was real. Daddy knew him. Wait, his folks knew him. I mean, he couldn't speak. He didn't speak.
Kids loved him. He had more kids at his funeral than I was
Really?
talking about.
And he wasn't working in the mine any longer. There
No,
towards
Oh,
the
he had
end.
worked in them for years. I
Since
think.
1919.
Yeah.
He quit in 1919. That was in 1933.
Mhm.
But he
Wow.
had worked on,
But he
he'd
went
gone to
back
work
down.
in a coal mine. After that, the slab fell on him and damn near killed him.
Oh my.
He was blown up in a gold mine in South Dakota and it almost killed him.
That's when you were up there,
When he
obviously.
went to work in
I
the,
don't remember.
Yeah, you're too
he was
little.
working in the ground, underground. And in those days, they didn't have an elevator. They had a can that each man,
This is interesting.
Really?
these men stood in this can, and 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever it would hold, a big old iron can about that big around, and
Bucket, they call it.
yeah, they bucket, and they'd drop him into the ground.
Lower down and
Yeah.
lift the bucket up in the next group. Oh, okay.
Okay. He was dropped about 200 feet in the bucket and lived through it.
Oh my.
Um,
He had a lot of
yeah.
mining
Yeah.
accidents and such.
And then
And his son died. No.
he went to
his
work
family.
in Minden Mines, which was outside of Missouri.
Don't worry, it's already Go ahead.
Worked
Enjoy
for-
your life.
and went to, yeah, a slab fell on him, slab of coal fell on him. He was a miracle man that lived as long as he did.
And had a good sense of humor about it.
Oh, yeah.
He went through the Spanish-American War at 17.
Oh, he was in it?
Oh, yeah.
See, that's the other question I had is I didn't know which one of the family members were in
Well,
the
Daddy
war.
was, and he went in because of his stepmother. He didn't like it.
17 years old. When he,
17, he
Because of
lied.
Molly.
He was Molly.
Molly. So he joined the Spanish American. That was the, okay,
He spent 3 years in the Philippines,
really?
Philippine Islands.
fighting them damn Filipinos.
He did what?
Fighting those
Oh, fighting them.
Filipinos.
Yeah.
And that must have been an experience.
Are you enjoying all this, honey?
Yes. I know that Scott doesn't quite understand it, but because I've been looking at all these times, these places, and
You
it's
can't
kind of
believe in
making
the
more
people,
sense.
Harvey.
Well, that's why I really wanted to get some pictures, and I'm hoping that Dad has some pictures because then I can put faces. What I want to do is I want to do the genealogy and show the couple and have their pictures, and then the kids and have their pictures as much as I can, or at least the picture of the one that's our ancestor, and go on like that. So we have more than just the names. We have the family tree with the pictures on it as well.
Oh,
so.
I've got a picture of Mother and Dad in their house in South Dakota.
I
Well,
don't
we've
have any
got
pictures
that.
of your dad. I don't have any pictures of.
Oh, I've got a picture of him in working in the mine.
Do you? Okay. Well, if you have those, before I leave today, I brought my digital camera, and I'll take a picture of your picture so I can put it in
And
the
I've got
computer.
a picture on the wall there of where Ruth was born.
Which
Yeah,
is
that
the one
And
in,
two-story.
Oh, yeah,
In
somebody
Missouri?
else she's talking to last night. Yeah, where Ruth was born.
yeah,
In a log cabin.
no log cabin.
2-story log cabin.
I don't know if we've seen an old two-story. I mean, I've
Oh,
seen
they're
them.
right in there on the wall.
I'll have to look at those
That's
before we
too
go.
bad.
That's cool.
Where Ruth was born was a 2-story log cabin.
Yeah, that's what he just said, and I don't know if I've seen one like that before because log cabins.
And
I've
the
seen.
people that are on it are not her parents because they're transposed onto it.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
And of course, the picture itself was blown up, from just a snapshot to what it is now.
Yeah, that's what we're all into
I
doing
wish I had
too.
all my pictures.
And they had,
out.
that's the reason they transposed people.
What about now? I know on the love side they had all girls, and I know you've named off all of those girls. And on
But
the,
there's one boy.
I bet he died when he
He
was
died at
8?
6 days old.
6. Oh, he was the same year. Okay.
My poor grandpa wanted a boy so bad that he, when he was finally born, see, they had 4 or 5 girls first, I don't know which one. And He didn't go to work. He stayed home and held that baby and all, but I don't know what's going on.
James Preston.
I love that name.
And
That was my
Because
grandpa's name.
Because that was, yeah, James Preston Love, and
Uh-huh.
then
and my name was Louis Preston.
Louis Preston. Louis Preston.
He's named after both your grandparents.
I was telling Scott on the way up here your middle name, and I said I've always loved the name Preston.
I
said, Scott, your middle name was almost Preston but I love the name James Preston also. I just thought
I
James
do too.
Preston Love is such a great name, but I didn't want to name him after his dad because I know it's confusing when you've got a James, two first names.
Oh, yeah, name him David.
Oh yeah, I could have done that, David or Richard. I mean, this is confusing. And Jason's middle name is James. So anyway. But James Preston, I really like that name too. I've always
That's a
liked
good
Preston.
combination.
Yeah, I should have. He'd been calling you a Jimmy, Scott.
You guys are welcome to watch the television if you'd like to.
I was watching the golf game, but it's over now.
So, and your aunts and your uncles, you were talking about Aunt Belle, Uncle Jack, which was John Melvin,
Mhm.
and then Egidius, he died little, but you think that he was,
He was 9 or 10 years old anyhow.
yeah, it says 9, I think,
Mhm.
but I didn't know if he was Miles Egidius or Egidius Miles, but he went by Egidius, is that what you're thinking?
Honey. Daddy always called him Giddy.
Giddy?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
But Daddy was only
Gadias, wasn't that the name? They called it Gadias.
Clem. Clem is our cousin
Okay.
on the Mall side, and he said Echadias is the way somebody
Echadias.
said it, but Daddy
Echadias.
always called it Egidius.
Ah,
And
Echadius.
all the
I never would have
family
thought to do it that way. Okay, Echadius or Giddy.
Well, he had a brother by the name Berzelius,
Who did?
my cousin Clem.
Oh, that's because I've never heard that name either.
Berzelius, Leslie Berzelius.
Who had a brother?
Clem did.
Clem did.
Clem Mall?
Wasn't it his brother that was? Sure was.
Well, I never heard that name before, I don't think, but his brother was.
Leslie Berzelius?
It could have been Louis, I don't remember.
You don't remember Leslie?
No, I don't.
And the girls?
I remember all the kids, but I don't remember that name, Berzelius, at all. And his name was
Berzelius.
Huh?
Leslie Berzelius.
It could have been Louis, I don't know. He was a little bit near your age.
Yeah, he was either just a little bit younger, or a little bit older than me. I think he was.
Clem's a
just
little bit older than I am.
A couple of years, a couple of days, or
Now
a
this
couple of months. or
Uncle
something.
Hank's kid.
I was just going to say, who's their parents? Okay, this is Uncle Hank's kid.
Hank and no. What's her name?
Edna, yeah.
Her name is.
And then
what was
Jewish
it?
lady.
I'll tell you a little something. To turn that off for a minute.
Good sense of humor. 4th of July and Christmas belong to his kids.
He would not work.
He would not work for anybody on those days.
4th of July also. That was another day.
And
Christmas. Okay.
He'd get right down in the floor with us kids on Christmas morning, and we'd eat fruit and candy and play games and just have a great time on Christmas morning while Mom was fixing dinner.
Mm-hmm.
4th of July, almost always, we'd go to the river or someplace like that. We'd have a case of soda and homemade ice cream
Mm-hmm.
and fried chicken and potato salad and I don't know what all, and watermelon. And I'll tell you something else about my dad. It was never pursued, but he grew a watermelon. It tasted like pineapple and was blue.
He experimented with them.
Really? That's
And it was
interesting.
blue.
Is this down in Oklahoma he did this?
Yeah, on
Really?
the acre. We call it on the acre.
The acre, I've heard you refer to that.
A
Tasted
blue
like a
watermelon that
pineapple?
tastes like pineapple.
How did he do that?
Well, I think, I don't remember how he got the pineapple in it, but he took some blue yarn, I think, real dark blue
Yarn?
and put down in it when it was real young.
Well, I didn't know what it was.
I remember seeing him do that.
But I remember that that's what he did.
Wow.
I don't know whether the yarn is the one that colored it or not, or what, but something that he was doing with that blue, dark blue yarn. But
If he'd pursued that, he might have had something that was really.
Yeah.
He was
Because
in.
watermelons are a lot easier to cut than pineapples. I'd rather have a watermelon that tastes like a pineapple than try to get it.
And another thing about, I heard this, I don't know if you heard this or not, Hazel. Dad had figured out an invention for a percolator before they were
The
made.
coffee percolator? Really? So he was an inventor kind of a guy. He was very creative anyway.
Well, he
that's more in every way, kind of like getting us kids things to play with.
But
None of the
every-
neighbors had the things that we did, that they could have, that their parents.
Every carnival
There wasn't
came to
money.
town, we went. Every carnival.
Every
Every circus that came to town, we'd go and watch them build up. We'd go and watch them tear down.
But you go to the circus too. We all went.
Oh, that's what I
The
said.
whole
Yeah, he
family
said
went to the circus and sat together.
Oh, yeah.
Always. When I was
Saturday
16,
night.
I wanted to go without it.
Now, we were poor. I'm telling you, we were poor.
We were poor. I mean,
And-
Dad had always had a pretty good job.
Well, yeah, but we were poor. But every Saturday night, we would go to the movies
Yeah.
for a nickel or dime, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember Jack Hoxie, Art Ford, Tom Mix, and all of them.
Oh, my
That time,
goodness.
see. And after the movie, there was a little restaurant on the way home. And we'd always stop in there and have something
That
to eat.
made me mad. Daddy wasn't fair. They always gave him the best of everything. They really did.
No.
Give Louis the best of everything? Why?
No,
Because he was sick.
no, I would sit on the stool and they'd say, "What do you want to eat?" And I would say, "Oyster 2."
But he wouldn't let
Dime.
the rest of us order the oysters too. It was 35 cents.
It
We
was a
had
dime.
some that was a nickel.
It was a dime.
He wouldn't let the rest of us
Now,
have
why do you say Uncle Louis was sick?
it. He was
Oh, I
sick.
was sick.
You were a sick little boy?
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
was
know
had
that.
pneumonia. I had pneumonia 3 times.
Oh.
And first was I was a real baby, real like little baby. I almost died. But
Yeah, but usually when Daddy was
we
so
would,
good to his
we would
mother.
go to this carnival, and it seemed like we could just do anything we wanted to do. You know, I remember shooting the pop gun towards some kind of prize that we get, you know,
Mm-hmm.
a cork gun.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And,
Oh, when Daddy did it, we did it right. If we went, we got to do whatever was going to do.
yeah, whatever
Wow.
we wanted to do, we rode whatever ride there was, you know.
How did your mom react to this? I mean, I'm thinking of me as a mother going, we don't have any money to buy dinner, but you're
Well, I-
taking everybody out to the park. You know, I could just imagine that sometimes
Well-
she must have
Well,
been
in
kind
those
of
days, we
nervous.
didn't go out for dinner, buy big dinners. You know, we
Right.
might stop and have a bowl of chili,
Mm-hmm.
a nickel or dime. See?
Well,
And-
honey, they had their troubles. One Christmas, Daddy mortgaged the house to have Christmas.
Oh.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
He wanted to make sure you kids obviously.
Oh, yeah.
You can.
Oh.
It was obvious that he was a family man. He
Oh,
loved his
heavens,
kids,
yes.
and he wanted his kids to
The
have
greatest
what's right.
in the world. I'm not kidding you. And he's one of the most stern people you ever saw in your life.
Really?
Yeah. And he could hit you with his hand and
I don't
knock you
think he was
40
very
feet.
stern.
His hands were just like steel from working in the mine.
Oh.
And they're real thick. Now, Mike's got hands like
Yeah,
that.
short, thick hands.
And he just knocked it. He just...
We expect you guys to
And he had-
behave, obviously.
He had a panko belt, which is part is combination of leather belt. It was about that big. That he used to whip with. And brother, he could really lay it on you. But he was the best guy in the world. I don't think there's ever been one better.
Well, one thing that I want you to know, Daddy said, he's the one that taught us, you're no better than anyone else. And
Yeah.
no one in the world's any better than you are.
I've heard my dad say that. Yeah.
He got it from me, probably.
I'm
telling
sure
him
he
that.
did. Yeah.
And I think that's true. And with it, but I don't understand. Of course, they considered diggers like mules. If you
Yeah,
look in history,
property, yeah.
property. So
Well, it
he
wasn't
did-
that long after. I mean, he was born and everything during. He was raised during. It was still slavery.
Yeah, well, yeah.
No, he wasn't.
No.
I'll tell you, Victoria.
No, but Galena,
Soon after.
Kansas was never segregated. But Daddy wouldn't. That's one reason he wouldn't live in Kansas. But he wouldn't live in the county hardly where the blacks or the Mexicans, either one could live.
Mm.
Very segregated. I mean, about that. But everybody else you treat just as good as you can, and no, but that no one mistreat you. You just, we're all equal. Dad say that so many times.
He was a great guy. And Mom was just as great a mother.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she wasn't.
Mama was quiet. Well, you kind of know Mother. She was kind
I
of
was
quiet.
young though when she passed away, and
She wasn't real stern, but she was. And then she never did smack us or whip us or anything hard at all. Well, she switched us once.
Listen, now they've got a weapon. If Daddy got mad at you, you better get out of the way. And you could get over there and do something, make him laugh, and you don't get a whipping.
Okay.
But if Mother said you do that, thank you. And maybe a little bit later she'd say, go out and get the switch. You're going to get your spanking. And we got a spanking. It wasn't bad. We had to bring her
So
off.
you can trust your mom to deal with that, but your dad, you can
Yeah,
talk
you
him
get
out of
Dad
it.
to do it.
You talk him out of it.
Oh, I never talked.
He was very temperamental.
I never talked him out very much.
Didn't talk about it too much.
No. I do think that they sure were good parents.
They must have been.
They were wonderful.
Both of them. They sure put us kids first.
Well, husband and children and wife came first to him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, they loved each other, and they didn't mind to show it.
I like that. I think that's one thing that's nice about our family too. You know.
They got mad at each other, they didn't mind to show it. And Mother had a temper almost as bad as Daddy.
Mom,
But neither one ever held a grudge.
Mom never cussed.
Oh, no.
But one time she got real mad at him, and she said, "You make me so mad that I could just cuss, damn it to hell." Remember?
You guys both remember that. That's funny.
Hey, Daddy said, well, why don't you? And she said, well, damn it to hell. She felt real bad because she'd sinned.
That's funny. Did you guys go to church?
Yeah. But
The
we
kids
weren't.
did.
There
The
weren't
kids
any
did.
radicals in church.
Yeah.
Anything like that.
Yeah.
They started
funny.
in Sunday.
I think, Vicki, that that's the reason our religion is the way it is because we were never forced into it. We went when we were little kids because our parents went and our mom went. And we'd get up on Sunday morning and get ready for Sunday school. Yeah. But we were never forced. And as we got older, we weren't forced, but we went because we wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you start in.
Mm-hmm.
I always say if you give your kids a religious beginning, it'll follow them.
Yeah.
If you don't make
them,
them, go.
Right.
But if you make them go, they'll hate it.
Yeah, there's no rebel against it.
Yeah.
Mhm. You're right.
And I think that's the reason we went to church so much afterwards.
Well,
It's because you had that
okay.
beginning.
Yeah,
that
I'll tell you the
foundation.
beginning.
And I
Mama.
always say, that if you give them a religious beginning,
Yeah.
that
Oh,
they'll-
Daddy believed in it. He wanted us to have it. He didn't go to church with us.
but
But I went to anyhow, she was up in the church. What was the people's name in Anderson and Commerce? They took care of the dead people.
Morticians?
Mortician. His wife, his daughter lived right next to us. And I was about before Mac was born, so I was only 4 when Mac was born. She took me for years to church with her every Sunday morning.
I don't remember that.
I do. We lived up where Mac was born.
Of course, I was only 2 years old.
Yeah.
And,
you remember that.
But they always took me to the Baptist church. And as I began, Uncle Jack was real active in the Baptist church. Dad didn't like his brother Jack very well.
Oh, really?
He didn't like him. Todd and Peach were Dad's the ones he's crazy about. Hank and him. Uncle Hank came every summer to see all of us.
Uncle
but
Todd
Dad,
was a drunk.
Uncle Todd was a drunk?
Well, he's always drunk.
well, every weekend he got drunk, yeah. But Dad and Todd and Uncle Peach were very close, all 3 of them. But Daddy thought Uncle Jack was a hypocrite.
Oh.
He was a big shot. But anyhow, they sent me, and I didn't like the way they talked about other churches when I began to get about. I was 10, I think, when I just on my own went to the Christian church. and they didn't object. The Christian church was between us and the Baptist church, so I liked it, and I always liked the Christian church. You have so much freedom in it. That's really, so Mom and kids, of course, we were baptized and later.
In the Christian church?
In the Christian church in Joplin, but I went to Commerce, and I took Louis and Mac with me always on Sunday.
What, do you remember the name of that church? The Christian church?
Christian church in it? No, I don't.
I'm just wondering if they have church records. Sometimes they do. Like
Hey,
they'll have
what?
church records, like the baptisms and stuff.
Oh, I imagine. Yeah.
But I wasn't baptized in that one. I wanted to be when I was 11. I wanted to be baptized real bad. And because we had, I loved the minister we had at that time. Mom and Dad wouldn't let me. They thought I was too young and I didn't know what I was doing. So then when we moved to Joplin, I started a Christian church. And they went along with me. And when I was 17, I joined. And when I was going to be baptized that night, Louis and Mac and Mama all got baptized with me.
And that was in Joplin?
That was in Joplin.
Okay.
When I was 17. And 70 years later, I was baptized in the Orland Church.
Kind of off the subject a little bit, but you had told me one time how you met Earl. He was working at a grocery store was it in Joplin?
It was in Joplin. We lived on Joplin Street. And he was working on a grocery store on Main Street.
Which was just one block
Just
over.
one block away.
Okay.
But we went in there a lot, but I never just there. Worked in the
Produce? No?
meat department.
On the meat department.
Grocery. And then you don't go in and pick up your groceries. You know, they waited on you. Everybody did.
Oh.
But I didn't see Earl in after that for several years. I didn't know what he worked, and we moved away, and I got married. And oh no, I didn't get married.
Not yet. Unless you didn't tell me something.
When I was working at the Connor Hotel, you may have heard of that because it's well known. It's in Joplin. I was mail clerk there. Then also worked as check room girl because you get more money then. I made $30 for working 30 days a month for being mail clerk. Went to work 3 times a day. The breaks wasn't hard work anything. But I had to work till about 8 o'clock at night. And I was going home one night, and I had seen Earl just say hi or something, and I saw him coming down the street. And he just spoke. Well, every night as I came home from work, then he began talking. He'd be there. And I didn't particularly like him. He was all right, but he wasn't such a good-looking guy. And I was going with Ben Guthrie, had been. I couldn't get rid of Ben, remember? And I had gone with him.
I remember at that point that you were going with Ben. I was Ben. You went with Ben when we were in Anderson.
In Anderson. But he come up to my house all the time, honey, in Joplin. Nearly every night.
Ben did?
Ben did, yeah. He had a new car then.
That's what he was
But he was... I always had a set for a husband. I wanted a blonde. One that belonged to Christian church. And I wanted one that was a good worker. You didn't have to have money. And this Ben Guthrie was much better looking than Earl. Taller. And
was he a blonde who went to the Christian church?
and he was he went to the Christian church after he met me.
Okay.
But he just well, it wasn't anything there. It was just I still love Ben like I love a brother.
Okay.
So, but Earl asked me for a date. And I was giving any guy that asked me for a date to come, I would give it to him. Because so Ben came up, I'd have a date. And that's the only reason I started going out with him.
So make yourself unavailable to this other guy.
Yeah. I was a brat. I was a flirt.
You were a flirt?
And I was a good girl, though. I really was. But I don't know.
She still is.
The flirt or the good girl? I'm not sure.
I was a flirt. I always had a lot of boyfriends, didn't I? I liked the Ben. But, yeah. But anyhow, Earl asked me that. And one night with him, I mean, that first time I liked him.
The first time
I
you really got
did.
to know him. I like this guy.
And I found out of course, he was a blonde. And he belonged to the Christian church, not the same one I did. He belonged to Central Christian Church. No, we belonged to Central. You asked me while ago in Joplin Central Christian. He belonged to South shop,
Okay.
South Christian Church shopper. And I just went with it very few times, and I was looking out. I can remember when I was, I don't know what he was doing with the car, but he was standing in the front seat and working on the some at the top. And I thought, I believe I'm in love with that guy. He was a real good worker, I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
The three things I said,
And he was right there.
Right there.
Wow.
And boy, he proved worth every bit of it. So
Yeah.
then we only went together about 8 months. No, about 3 or 4 months. We knew each other a long time, but we really went together about 3 months.
And then you got married? Wow.
I knew right then, just as well as could be, that's the guy I think I really want to marry.
Wow. Did I put that in here? So you guys got married in 1930.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right at the beginning of the Depression.
Oh, that's right, you said that.
He was making $15 a week when we got married, which was not good or not real bad, but he was a good worker, I knew that.
Did he make furniture? Did you tell me he worked?
He always worked in furniture. He worked in a furniture store. He bought it, and like Louis, go out and buy and sell it. He worked for someone else. He had it, but then, old Kelly the depression was getting so bad, and he just said he couldn't hardly pay Earl anything. He kept going down, and so he took some of his furniture, and we got got a store, a pretty nice store in Joplin, and Earl and I ran that for a little bit.
Oh.
But I got pregnant. That's the awfulest thing to do, you know.
Kind of messed up your plans.
You know how I met Ruth? Pete had worked at Max Factories for quite a while.
Okay.
In the lab. And so Mom always wanted me to go to work with her. And I don't want to go to work. I mean, I can make more money with hustlers than I can working there, see? Well, but I'd like to have you get a job with Max Factories. You know, Pete likes it, and I think you'd like it. And so to appease her, I said, okay, I'll go to work there. I don't want to, but I will.
Mm-hmm.
So the first day I was there, I was doing some work up in the attic, in the rafters. And Ruth came and about along pretty close to noon.
What was she doing, Louis?
She worked in the juice department, packing drinks, and it wasn't rouge. What was they called? Pancake maker.
Well, yeah, they was good.
Yeah, she packed the pancakes. And first day I was there, and I was working up there in the attic and rafters, and about noon she looked at me and she said, "I understand you're from Missouri." And I said, "Yeah." Go right back to work.
Where were you guys at?
And we lived in Los Angeles.
Oh, when you guys were all in Los
Yeah.
Angeles already. Okay, so you didn't meet her until out here.
Oh,
Okay.
no. And so I said, "Yep," and I went right back to work. See? And she said, "I thought you son of a bitch, I'll never speak to you again."
She said that to you?
No, she didn't say it.
Oh, you were
That's what
thinking,
She
yeah.
said that's what she thought.
Yeah, because you were a ranger.
Because I just
Ignored her.
ignored her. So at lunchtime, they would go out and sit on the curb.
You know, they come around for lunch and
Mm-hmm.
just so much.
No, they didn't come around with lunches. We had our bags.
Oh, you
You
had a
just go
bag?
sit out there with your
Well, I
lunches.
thought you
A
had a
brown bag did.
But all over Los Angeles about that time was.
And so when she went out and sat on the curb, and I went out and sat beside her. And we got to talking.
Well, you amended yourself. It's a good darn thing, huh?
That was it.
Yeah.
And she told me, she said, "I'll never speak to you again." You know. And from that day on, she was my baby.
Now you tell us how you met James.
I was working in Santa Maria at a luggage and gift store, and there was my boss. He had seizures, so they took his license away from him. So when we worked late,
They should have gotten him some Dilanthus. That's what I keep them.
well, they didn't know what was causing it at the time. So the first thing they do is to take the license away until they diagnose it, because it had just started. So when we closed the store, I would drive him home. I was 16. At that time, I was 17, I think. I don't remember if I was 16 or 17 at that time. Anyway, I would drive him home and drop him off at his home. And he would sometimes invite me in. You want something? He always had a lot of people at his house. He was a single guy that had a house that he rented the other rooms out to friends. Well, James was one of his renters. He was one of his roommates.
Oh.
And I didn't know James, and I didn't know that's all right. I just drop it off and I go on. Well, one of the girls that I was working with, who kept telling me about this guy James that she thought was so cute. She just wanted to get to know him and everything, and it was Rick's roommate. And one day, about that time, I knew Sherry liked this guy, but I didn't know who he was. Phone rang at the store, and I answered it, and it was James. And so we got to talking. He had a car in a demolition derby, and the guy I was going out with at the time, I was going out with this guy Terry. Terry and I were going to be at that demolition derby, so I started talking to James about it. Well, then after that, a few months after that, James came into the shop for something, and I was getting off work right about that time. It was Christmas time, and Sherry was like, "Oh, there's James, there's James." And so I knew.
From that day forward, she was my baby, and I was her daddy.
Long time. Think of all those good years.
Oh, my God, yes.
Do you know anyone that's had that long a marriage?
No, I don't know anybody who
They
would.
never lost a day. Even if they get
It's the greatest life in the world. Honest to God.
They really have.
Well, you did, because you guys were so much in love, even to the very end. It was
right,
obvious.
oh,
You guys
heavens.
were so much
Oh,
in
what
love.
is that?
The picture, you guys are holding hands, and that, got your arms all wrapped around each other, and that was
Yeah, they really did.
the 62 years that you had was good things.
You and James seem to have had a very good marriage.
We've been really
Just fine so far.
Yeah, we've been very
And
well.
we were never separated. See,
You never heard it stayed overnight away from her, did you? I never knew either one
when I
of you
was in
taking
the
a
Army,
trip.
and when I was in the hospital, or something like that, it's the only time we were separated at night. And when I was in the Army, she even came up there and stayed with me a couple of nights. Yeah.
You know that used to be or something,
No,
weren't you?
it wasn't very long after we married till she took $35 of her money and bought a van. And so I took the van, got a job working for a delivery service. And
Did you notice he take $35 for a van? Could you
Yeah,
believe it?
I was thinking, wow.
You could
yeah,
buy
money I
tires.
didn't.
Well, this was only $35 is what I was thinking.
So
You want a cup of
this
coffee?
delivery service was it was delivering the Radio Life magazine, and they were making the money, and I was doing the work. So I said, damn, I've got my own van, and I said, I might as well go to work for the delivery service. For the company, the Radio Life magazine, instead of working for the delivery service. I
yeah.
get paid for it.
Get rid of the middleman.
Yeah.
So I went to the guy and I said, I'd like to get a job, get a contract delivering your magazine. What they did, they delivered them to stores. And they were free at the time. And they delivered 100, 200, whatever it was. It depended on the big store. And so he said, well, yeah, he said, I think I could work that out. So he offered me a contract, $35 a week. Well, that was big money.
You're getting cold. But couldn't you turn that?
Are you getting cold?
I'm freezing to death.
Go over and just turn it off completely.
I just got,
Aren't you guys getting
Right
cold?
there.
yeah.
See where it says off?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. You saved my life again.
And
When are we going for?
$35 a week.
$35 a week. And I go home and I told Ruth, and she said, You're crazy. She said, there's nobody going to pay you $35 a week for working 2.5 to 3 days a week. And I said, well,
Delivering something that give you
uh,
free?
I said, I've got a contract. And she said, they're not going to pay you that kind of money. And I said, okay, I've got a contract. I'll show you. So when I got my contract fulfilled and signed and everything,
Going $35 a week was quite a bit of money at
I
that
couldn't
time.
believe it. I only worked 3 days a week, you know. So I worked for
Almost
them.
$10 a day.
More than
You know
$10
that's
a day.
good money.
And I still hustled. But I had 2 days of work.
That 2 days are free, but you were...
3 days that I was free. And so I did work on the side. I painted mailboxes, and I painted numbers on curbs, and
You
Just kept busy.
just anything I could do.
That's what he's done since he was a little tiny boy.
Sold oil.
But he wouldn't work for people. He was no good at working for people.
But you knew that about yourself, obviously, pretty well early on. And so this is baloney. Why should I do all the work and then make the money? I'll just do it
They're
directly.
making the money. You know.
You
Then
remember?
they went to a penny, you know. And
Oh, the
What
buying
was it you were delivering?
those papers.
Yeah,
the
but that-
Times,
Radio Life magazine.
Radio Life, that's
A
right.
radio license.
And then they went to a penny. And but I started taking a lot more magazines to the market, to more markets. And so I told this guy, I said, you know, I'm delivering a lot more magazines now than I used to deliver. And I said, I think you ought to give me a cent a copy for the ones that I delivered. Anyhow, I went to $51 a week.
Wow.
Then I wasn't sober. Then I had my 3 days. I had an oil truck. I picked up grain oil. I had a big a tanker, a 600-gallon tanker. And I picked up oil for this refinery. And that was kind of a messy job. And I did a side work. And I was going to this auction. And I kind of liked it. So I went to the boss and I said, you know, I said, I like your outfit here. And I said, and I think I like the business. And I said, I'd like to be a buyer. And he said, you know something? He said, of course, he'd gotten used to me being there.
Right, because he knew who you were.
He kind of knew me. And he said, you know, he said, I need a young buyer. And that was in 43. So
Was that in 43? Oh, I was very busy about those days.
he said, I'll make you a deal. He said, you come to work for me as a buyer, and you buy it, I'll pay for it, and I'll sell it, and we'll split the profit or we'll split the loss.
Oh, okay.
And that was fine. The first week I made something $97 or something. You know. Hell, I was really over then, you know. Also doing Radio Life magazine.
Doing both.
That radio life is what I thought you delivered that I didn't deliver.
Yeah.
And I did that 8 years, I think it was 5 years I was working.
It was a long time.
Doing the auctioneer too.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I was really making money then. And but anyhow, first diner said I lost $50. And of course,
Too much money
you know,
for
he
it.
said I'll
Split the loss.
He said he thought, you know, that I wasn't going to be able to cut the mustard. But we had an agreement that I would take that he would take half of the profit or half the loss. And so when I saw that I lost that $50, I said, I'll make the deal on. I said that I know that you said you take half the loss and I took half the loss or half the profit. And he said, that's right. And I said, I don't want you to take any of the loss. And I said,
Isn't that a crazy thing to say?
Yeah, wow.
I said, that's the only way I'll learn is by losing.
Oh.
And probably 10 years later, he told me, he said, when you lost that $50 on the diamond set, I was scared of you. But when you told me you wanted to take all the loss, I knew you'd never lose another dime on a diamond set. I never lost another dime on a diamond
Really?
set. I lost money on some deals,
But not on diamond set.
and I made a lot of money working for him. And like I said, I worked
Are you getting tired of sitting here
No,
talking?
no.
Okay.
3 years. I
You
guess
get these old people start talking about kids.
Well, I wanted to hear what you
about
had to
3,
say.
I think it was 3 to 5, or 5 years that I worked on both jobs.
Doing the radio life and the furniture.
And when I started making real big money, with radio life any longer, I just put that time buying furniture.
You still do pretty darn good buying furniture.
When did you get from Los Angeles up here to this area?
That's where I lost them. And that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Well, Trish moved out.
We had never been away from
Okay.
our family.
See, we were living in West Covina, I think it was at the time. And, yeah, West Covina. And in a mobile home park. And she moved out here, and I thought, well, I'd like to live out there. I think I'll buy one. Then I don't want to buy it. And so then I came out here and saw this place, and I thought, well, gee, that's a senior complex, and I'd like to live there. And they were selling for probably $25,000, $30,000 at the time. And Ruth said, well, she didn't really want to live with these old people. we were the old.
It's all in the attitude.
And so what we would, anyhow, we
We've
decided,
never got to visit like this, have we?
Not for a long time.
we decided we were going to, at the time I had a motorhome. And we took a lot of nice trips in this motorhome, back to Missouri. And so I was going to write a book, statistics on traveling on the road. How far it was from this city to that city.
Oh, okay.
What were the advantages in each place. And,
I think that was a good idea.
Yeah, that's a
it
great
was
idea.
a good idea. But
They do those types of things now for camping and stuff.
yeah,
So.
I couldn't find a publisher. So we went out, we sold our house in West Covina. That's in West Covina. West Covina. And we were going to travel for 2 years. So we were gone just about a month. And
You're done.
Ruth said, I want to go home. Okay, baby. And I couldn't get a publisher in that time, and so I didn't want to tell too many people about my idea because they come along and do the same thing.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so we came out here and we bought a mobile home.
That's where I lost them for 10 years.
New mobile home.
Almost entirely.
And then after that we bought a house. And we sold the house. Where'd you have it? Got lost.
Well, I think you did. I thought you went to sleep, did you, for a minute?
No, but I told, we sold the house out over here, and then we decided, first we sold the mobile home first, and bought a house. And then after
That's
we
what you told us.
bought the house, we lived there a few years, and we decided, well, we'd like to live over here.
In this area?
And Ruth said, I still don't want to live with people. And then we came over and met a few of them. Well, no, we were old as they were, you know.
When you're older, we're the oldest.
Yeah.
But didn't
And,
park,
you know,
I think, now.
and of course you had to be 55 to
Move
live
in.
in, yeah. So, that was it.
So you bought your place.
And we read for about, I don't know, 2 or 3 months before we bought it because we wanted to see if we liked it.
Yeah, good idea.
And we rented a place over in Section 6. And the ants were so bad, my God, they just eat us up, you know.
Oh, the what?
The ants.
And
So we moved out of there and we decided to buy. And so we bought this place up the street.
Mm-hmm.
You saw it.
Yeah.
And we loved it up there. But I didn't think I could live it, you know, after.
Yeah. This is a nice setup here.
I think it's a nice place.
Yeah.
And, you know, you really know this is just one big room almost.
Mhm.
But the way he has it set up, I call that our TV room, and this is our living room. And our,
Being in the furniture business, you know where
Yeah,
to place
always.
everything. Oh, you wanted to show me your garage. Why did you want to? How did your mom and dad? That
Mom,
would be
well,
Jewel and David.
different about Jewel and David. But Mother had a friend, her name was Mabel, I think, wasn't it?
Name and grade.
No, another one.
Right.
Anyhow, she had a friend. And he told her about the good-looking guy that he was writing to in the army. And his name was David Law.
So your dad was in the army too.
My dad was in the army, yes. He's the one that was in the
Oh, that's right. You told me. That's right.
And then Daddy came home, lived out of the army, and he and Mabel got married. I think her name was Mabel. My mama hadn't met him yet, but they didn't live together about 6 weeks or so. I don't know what their trouble was. But Mother one night went, God just kind of works things. You know, he does it. I do believe that with all my heart. God works things out. Mom was going to, Aunt Pearl was going to church with Grandma. And Mother always loved to go to church. Aunt Pearl didn't very much, but Grandma was trying to get her to go. And that Aunt Pearl was Mother's older sister. But that night, Pearl came in and she said, I'm not going to church. She said, I'm going to stay home with my kids. Jill, you can go if you want to. So Mother got that in went. And she said they just got down to church. She and Grandma got to sit down in the church. And this good-looking guy, this good-looking guy, and some girl came in. Mother'd never seen him, but she fell in love immediately.
Really?
And Mom and her mother had run a boarding house. You know what an old boarding house was? They used to have lots of them. And that was on Sunday night, and Monday, this good-looking guy came over, but he looked at them. They must have looked at each other.
At the church, yeah.
At the church. And he came over to Grandma's to see if he could get a room, board.
Uh-huh.
Found out. He lived there a while. They started going together right away, and Grandma would never allow her girls to go on the borders. But she did, and that was it. And then he always kind of, Mom was
Geography, medicine.
yes, first her friend had they'd shown her a picture of Daddy, but she didn't recognize him at first. But I thought that was kind of nice.
How
I didn't
did,
ever know that story either.
You didn't?
how did your grandpa live? Since he died in 1902?
Grandpa.
Yeah.
James Preston Love.
Oh, yeah.
Grandma's
He died, honey, he had worked in the mountains.
he was the mines also.
And he had, he had, my brain doesn't work as long as all the other things that I anymore. Louis, what do you call him? Daddy had one the medicine.
What?
When Daddy got the, all that.
Are you talking about tuberculosis?
Where they cough up everything, Dad. When Daddy coughed up, what did you call it?
Lead.
A what?
Lead.
Yeah, but what did you call it? But anyhow, he had a...
It's tuberculosis, I think, is what you're
It's
thinking.
tuberculosis, but what do you call it where they just have it bad and start coughing him up? That's what Daddy, and that's what her father did, died of they're coughing up that
The
blood.
blood? Oh, the hemorrhaging? When he
A hemorrhage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's it, but he was also in the mines then.
Yeah. And honey, he had prospected. it was a time for people to really make money back there in a way. And he had a mine that he owned, and he had been prospecting in it a whole lot. And they just ran out of money. And he was also worked in the houses too, tried to get away. They were always trying to get out of it, but they get back. And so he worked in plastering houses for part of the time. And he was going to get the rest of it, but he just had we still haven't get the right word, what I'm trying to say, but where he sort of, he lived about 15 minutes. But my daddy lived for different ways, but he did. And Mama was 15, and her sister Pearl was about 17. Pearl got married a year later, but Mother waited till she was 23. But Mama and Daddy went together. I told you that.
Yeah.
But that's how they fell in love at church.
That's cool.
I think it was so cute to hear how people meet and fall in love.
So he was a handsome man, huh?
Well, I think my dad was good looking, but I didn't think he was overly handsome. But Mother thought he was. He probably was a boy. Daddy and I just. I'll find that, Michael, to get up too. I put to get a little something to prepare for it. And be patient if you can take it.
I have a note here that somebody was well educated and the Smiths were well educated.
Yeah.
That would have been Grandma Love's family.
Oh, you want me to get in on them?
Are they, well, they were the ones that were, didn't she work at a school in Galena or something?
She taught.
She
Grandma
taught.
taught school in
Oh,
Galena.
there it is. You have the picture. I was wondering who had this picture. So that's him right here. That's your dad.
Yeah, I have
He
a
is
bigger
a big
picture.
guy, isn't he?
No, he wasn't so big.
Well, he looks taller than
No,
well, of course,
no, he was short, if anything.
South Dakota.
Oh.
That's where it also.
Now, that's the house I was born in. That's Mother and Dad.
Okay.
I've been to that house.
He was dark.
He was dark. I looked like Daddy.
Mm-hmm. A lot of them all from...
Now, and they were Germans, you know. And this is unusual for dark Germans.
To be that
but they
dark,
looked-
yeah.
And Mother's side, Grandpa Love was part Indian. And they were all
Tell me about that. Nancy
Germans got charged and
Malone, Jimmy's wife, widow now, she and I have been going on the internet. We've been emailing each other back and forth the last couple of weeks. And she told me last week that she said, I finally got the connection with the Cherokee family. And, she said, all these years when Adam was a little boy and I was trying to find out, I didn't find anything. Now he's in medical school, I finally confirmed it. I didn't know what she was talking about. And so she emailed me something, but I can't open it up until I get a program that I bought that I can download it into. But because she's done a lot of genealogy. And she was emailing, but she said something about it was on the Love side of the family. And she talked a little bit about the McCoys and the McWilliams in this. But it's not what she summarized. It's not going to make a whole lot of sense until I can open it and see what she's talking about. So where did the Love, that came from?
Grandpa Love.
James Preston Love?
James Preston Love married
Musadora McWilliams
McWilliams,
was his mom. Is that who you're talking about?
yeah.
And that's
And
what
there was James and Dan and
Actually, I'm going to take a picture of these in a little while. Can I leave them out? I need to use the same batteries that are in here, though, because I took them out on my camera for this. So.
we may have some batteries but coincide to use.
Double A. I need two double
You
A.
got any double A's?
Two double A batteries?
I got some triple.
Okay. So James Preston Love, his parents were William and Musadora, and you're saying that the Cherokee.
The Cherokee Indians came from Musadora.
Okay, that's where it came from. That's why she was talking to Miss Williams and the McCoys, probably. Okay,
Yeah.
that's all the same. Yeah, and she was telling me that Musadora's mom, Eliza Jane McCoy,
Yeah.
her mom's sister, so her aunt, married a full-bred Cherokee, but that wouldn't have been in our bloodline.
No,
but
they wouldn't get none.
obviously it's somewhere else. And also that her son, Thaddeus, Usadora's
What's his
son,
name?
Thaddeus, but I didn't see him on here.
I don't know. I never heard the name. I bet he's got another name.
It was Eliza Jane's youngest son, Thaddeus, not, I think it's Louis Thaddeus.
I don't know the name Thaddeus at all. I've never heard it. I've heard it, but I mean, not in our family or anything.
Yeah, I think she said it was Usadora's brother, Thaddeus, is who I'm
Well, that might be.
thinking of.
I don't know a thing about them.
I'll have to, like I said, I'll have to wait until I can look at that file and see what she's talking about.
No phone. Never. And
They were big. They were older than Hazel and I. And they was always picking on, I don't know,
My
picking on
dad.
both of the Cartnell kids.
you want to put your.
They were always picking on me or Hazel or something, or both of us.
You like to pull my dress up.
And they started picking on us on our way home from school. So we got home and one of us was crying or both of us crying. And Dad said, "Okay, Hazel, you take the broom and Louis, you take the mop. And go out there behind those water barrels. And when those kids come by, I want you to beat the hell out of them."
Wasn't my dad.
That's right. And we did. And they never bothered us anymore. That's right.
Yeah.
And their stepfather
It was their uncle.
was the,
Their uncle.
you say it was the uncle? Okay.
It was their dad's
And,
father.
it was somebody, yeah. And he was kind of making it pass with Hazel and whatnot.
Uh-oh. So you were little, right?
No, he came in strictly.
My dad confronted him. And he told him, he said, "If you ever bother her again, I'll shoot you." Well, they got to argue. And so Dad, well, I went home and got his gun. He had a Smith a 38 Colt.
He was talking about.
But
He went home and got what?
Got his gun.
Daddy?
Yes. And Henry came
just
up there.
listen to see what he has to say. You may not know this
And
part.
Henry came up pretty close, I guess, to him or something. And he said, "You take one more step and I'll shoot you. And I'm going to shoot to kill you." Yeah. And he never bothered you anymore.
Oh, they were not. What the guy did, he's been so good. Cardinals had a bunch of kids, but he'd take us all to the show and do things. And one day, Mrs. Cardinal, she was a lovely woman, and Mother went berry picking, because people did all the time then. And all the little kids were around. I don't know where Louis was there that day or not, but I know because he went with Mama a lot. But Mac was, and Pete, and this Henry came in and just walked over to me and threw me down on the bed like that and got up over me and scared me to death.
Yeah.
That's been so good. But little Mac was, I don't know how, but he said, jumped up on there and he said, he began pulling his hair. He said, "You let my sister alone. You let my sister alone." And I couldn't talk to him. It was still something I think about. But all once the guy acted like he just came to his brains. I remember he didn't do anything but just lay me down there and just start kissing me. And Mac pulling his hair. And it must have brought him because I can still see how he looked like, "What on earth am I doing?" And jumped in and ran home as fast as he could. That's what he did. But of course that made my dad awful mad. But the gun part, I went in and got a gun. And they had to make me stop it, and he was sick, except they were going to get in a fight. I
Dad was going to kill him.
I was going to get like sure Dad can't stop then. But the guy,
What do you remember? You thought you remember doing that with the gun?
I remember definitely. I got the gun, went in, and Daddy turned around, and I was pointing that gun out there. But I guess I heard Daddy say that, and I got the gun. And then Daddy came and took it away from me
I don't
and
know.
left Henry.
Old Henry come close. He damn near got shot.
The people almost lynched him there.
And he was killed.
Daddy told me about it.
He was just hurt.
He really didn't hurt me at all, but he's intentions.
Yeah, exactly, Grandma. If the Uncle Mac had not been there,
But
who knows?
I'd been attacked.
You remember that guy, Some guy that bothered a gal over about a mile away one time.
What, honey?
About a guy who was bothering a gal about a mile away?
About a mile away on a state road or something.
Oh, a mile, state road is about a mile away.
Okay. And Dad got
Two state roads.
wind of it or something, and he went over there and chased him down.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, you ran him down.
Sounds like he was a
Well, at that time,
hero.
Oh,
He
he
wanted to
was.
take care of the women and
the Ku Klux Klan
Mhm.
was very active in that town.
Oh, this is in Oklahoma, you're talking about in Carmen?
Yeah. And my Uncle Jack, we found out afterwards, but I found it out at his funeral. It was odd. I'll tell you about that. But anyhow, they was lynching people.
So he was part of it? Uncle Jack was part of
He was
it?
part of that Ku Klux that they had. And our minister was, because I recognized his shoes and things. He was a different place. But Uncle Jack's funeral, it was a dark.
And this is John, your dad's
John.
brother, the one he didn't care for.
Yeah, let me be careful. That's a good Christian.
I didn't know about that. Of course,
I was at the funeral. The funeral. We were living in Joplin, but we went down to the funeral. I always wanted to go down there and be the malls. I love them so much. But I love it. But we here at these streets, and here come these Ku Klux on four sides. And they made a cross is what they really did. I was scared to death. We'll forget that. But I recognized my minister, and
Wow.
and two others.
Your minister from Central Christian in Joplin? Or no, Commerce. That's right, he's from Commerce.
And we found out Uncle Jack was the head of it on
Wow.
around there. But that